Welcome to the Shepherd Podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is a time to acquaint you with some people in the church, school, and childcare, some people that you might like to get to know, and someone I'm really pleased to introduce to you today, if you don't know him already, Stuart Rogers. Stuart, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Excited to be here.
You and your family have been a part of Shepherd of the Hills for not too long. How long has it been now?
Just a little over a year.
Yeah?
So, yeah.
I remember you came and visited by yourself originally, right?
I did.
Yeah.
So one of the weekends that I was here working before the family had relocated, and so I was kind of checking out some churches and seeing what that was like. And Megan and I had also visited the school together, right. Actually the week that we were house hunting. So yeah, had been here a few times before we lived here.
Okay, yeah, I remember meeting you by yourself, and I remember even before you guys moved here, I think we already had your membership paperwork in process. I mean, you guys were pretty decisive about where you felt God was calling you to be in terms of a church and a school.
It was a pretty easy decision.
Yeah.
This was actually the first school that we visited that week, and I will never forget, Megan walked out of the building and said, I don't care. We can cancel all the rest of the visits because this is where my kids are going. And I dragged her to a couple more visits, and as usual, she was right. And we have not regretted that one bit.
So how did you know? How did you know just like that?
I think I know it was the people. And it was the feeling when we walked in that we were comfortable. We didn't feel the stuffiness. We didn't feel like people were looking at us. Probably the single biggest thing was when we visited other schools, one of the very first conversations was, okay, here's the tuition schedule. Here's how much you owe. Here's when payment's made. Here's how it's made. But Shepherd wasn't like that at all. Shepherd was about, okay, we're going to talk to you about our school and why your kids will be loved here. And meeting so many people who had been students here and then came back as teachers and who also attended the church just made us feel like it was a community. And I remember at the very end of our visit, it was like Lauren almost forgot that you had to pay to get here, because kind of as we were leaving, she was like, oh yeah, and here's a packet of information about tuition and some of that stuff in case you need it.
Like an afterthought.
Yeah. And so that made us feel like, it's not about we want you to come here because we want your money. It was, we want you to be part of our family. And that's really what we were looking for.
So, cool. Yeah. Great. Good feedback. Well done by Lauren in terms of the admission process. And, in a short amount of time that you guys have been here, you've gotten very involved, which I have learned that is how you guys do things. You jump in with both feet, very involved with the school. You're leading the Zoom Bible study that several of us are doing on Wednesday nights. You're on the board of directors. And even before that, you were sitting in on some of the meetings to learn how things function around here. Your kids are involved in activities at the school. You guys do tend to jump in with both feet, right?
Yeah. We figure if we're going to be here, we're going to do everything we can to make it as great of an experience as we can, not only for our kids, but for other kids. We're very blessed. We're very fortunate. Megan stays home, and so she can be involved during the school day. I have a broad background, and so I can get involved and help lend my expertise where I can. But we just figure if we're going to be a part of the church, we're really going to be a part of the church.
Love that.
So
it's people like you guys that make a church great. I mean, a church is only as strong, first of all, as the Holy Spirit's blessing, but secondly, as strong as its families and people's sense of ownership and involvement. So thanks for being one of those really crucial parts of giving us strength and energy.
Well, thanks for making it easy. Yeah. I mean, it feels like, we showed up and we were looking for opportunities. And between Melody and you and Micah, you just said, here's a wide range of areas you can get involved in. Pick one. So you made it really, really easy.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah.
So we've been talking about you and your family. Can you tell us who's in your family?
Yeah. So my wife, Megan, I have an 18-year-old son who lives with his mom in Indiana. But then here we have my 11-year-old son, Noah. He's a 6th grader at school. And then Clark is 7 and he's in 2nd grade here at the school.
Mm-hmm. And some people might have seen Noah singing up front in previously some Sunday worship services. Now I believe mostly on the Saturday evening services, but he gets up there and he sings with everybody else. It's great.
Yeah, that's been awesome to see. Yeah. It's so exciting to see him get to share his gift and his passion with the church, and I know it makes him feel really good to feel like he's really a part of it. So rather than, attending church as a spectator, he gets to be involved. Yeah. So I think that's really exciting for him.
Yeah, it's a good feeling to see your kids serving and that their heart is in it.
Yeah.
And you can see their faith shining through all of that. Yeah. So tell us a little more about you. Where are you from originally? Can you tell us about your upbringing?
We're a Midwestern folk. So we still have our thick blood. I was born in Michigan, but then went to high school and undergrad in Indiana. Lived in Columbus, Ohio for 3 years, Madison, Wisconsin for almost 8 years. So Texas is a little warmer than what we're used to. So,
yeah. And tell us what brought you to Texas?
I work for USAA. So I started work in property product development early last year. So I spent all of my career in insurance. So the opportunity to work for USAA to serve those who serve us was just an opportunity I couldn't pass up. And being 2.5 hours from the ocean is a nice little bonus.
Oh, so to you, this feels like you're close to the ocean.
Oh, yeah.
Being from the Midwest.
Oh, yeah.
For us, we think, we're so far away from 2.5 hours is a lot closer than not near anything. Well,
and I feel like after moving to Texas, here 2.5 hours feels like right around the corner.
That's true.
In the Midwest, a 3-hour drive feels like it's forever away. Here, it feels like it's right down the street.
Yeah. Okay. There's a different scale, isn't there?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. You said property product development, was that the right term?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
So our team designs property insurance contracts. This is where Megan would make fun of me for being a gigantic nerd.
Okay.
So when you think of all the pricing of your home insurance and the coverages and the contract and all the optional stuff you can add on, my team designs that.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
And your role in that, what are you doing day to day?
So now I am a chief of staff to our executive. So I like to think of it as every job description includes that little line at the bottom that says all other duties as assigned.
Yes.
Every minute of every day of my life right now is all other duties as assigned. So I like to say I do the other stuff that people don't like to do so that they can focus on the stuff that they do really well, and so they can be more effective.
Now, to me, that really takes a servant's heart because you're intentionally putting yourself in a support role to somebody else and you're saying, I don't need all the credit, the glamour. I'm trying to make you successful.
Yeah.
Where does that come from? Do you ever have to, fight your own ego in those kind of situations and say, no, I'm here to support? Does that come naturally? I'm curious about that whole servant mentality.
I think for me, it's an opportunity to learn. I think I would really struggle in a job where I had to do the exact same thing every single day. Mm-hmm. So the fact that I get to bounce between teams, there's always something new going on. There's always a rush request. I feel like I'm always learning something new, whether it's talking to somebody in marketing or somebody in communications, or, we've been putting together a video series. So it gives me an opportunity to learn from people who are subject matter experts, which is part of what I love is just getting to spend time with lots of people who are passionate about lots of different things.
Right. You are very much a learner. We'll talk about books or podcasts or things of that nature that each of us enjoys. Where do you think that love of learning came from? Did that come from your parents, or was that something you developed later in life? It's this love to soak in things and be around subject matter experts.
I think some of it came early in life. My parents really enjoyed getting involved and helping out where they could. I will never forget, I had a third grade teacher who just kind of let me run wild. She recognized that I had a gift. I was very academically talented. And so she would give me, I don't know that I would call them extra assignments because it wasn't really homework, but she kind of let me do things that I really, really enjoyed and pursue those passions, which kind of gave me that love of learning new things. I haven't been passionate about, like, history is a newer one for me. You and I have talked about that a little bit. But I didn't develop that appreciation until I was in my probably late 20s. So it's just been a lifetime of figuring out what things I enjoy and learning more about them and learning that there are certain aspects of certain things that I enjoy, and just kind of seeing what interests me. You
very much have a curious spirit. You'll ask about how do things work, how do things work on the board level here at Shepherd, or even in our Wednesday night Zoom Bible study that we're a part of together, and you lead those sessions. I just feel like you ask excellent questions, probing questions, and not just to generate discussion, but I get the sense you're genuinely interested in people's opinion about different subjects. So I feel like there's a real sense of curiosity there.
Yeah, I just have a passion for the way different people see the world. I think too often people get stuck in this is my experience and therefore that is right. And I think it serves us really well when we really try to understand where someone's coming from and why they believe what they believe. Because I think at the end of the day, we all want the same things, no matter what side of the issue we're on. Right? We all want to be happy. We all want people to be healthy. We all have passion for family, and I think those shared experiences are what bring us together. And ultimately, if we have an appreciation and an understanding for each other, we're all willing to do more to support each other. And I think we just need so much more of that today.
I want to be your campaign manager in 2024.
Absolutely not.
Oh man, that's the kind of thing we need on a broad scale, is people learning from each other, understanding each other's perspective. I think that's very much needed. So that would be a great thing for others to jump on as well. So talk a little bit more about you and your families, your experience in churches previously. One of the things we've talked about, even as we were getting ready to film today, was a previous church you were at, and there was a lot of set up and tear down. And, you guys are very involved there. And you haven't always been a part of a Lutheran church. So
right.
Can you tell us a little more about your church background?
Yeah. So I, growing up, probably until I was, 10 or 11, we sporadically attended a United Methodist church, and then kind of fell away from the church until I was 15 or so. And then thankfully a really good friend of mine, still my best friend to this day, invited me to a church. It was I would call it a progressive Church of Christ. For anybody who you probably know about Churches of Christ, very, very conservative. But this was a more progressive Church of Christ. And by that, I mean, they did vocal percussion and then eventually would allow a guitar to be used during worship.
Vocal percussion.
So like beatboxing, like vocal,
I won't make you do it right now. Oh, okay. Because instruments are taboo in very conservative Church of Christ congregations.
Yes.
So that was their way of becoming more progressive. They didn't quite bring an instrument in, but they did it vocally.
Yeah.
Got it. And then a guitar came in.
Yep. And so we attended a Church of Christ when we lived in Indiana, and then in Ohio. And then when we moved up to Madison, Wisconsin, we couldn't find one, or the ones that we found were very conservative, which was more conservative than what we were comfortable with. And until then, I didn't even know that there were different varieties of Lutheran churches. I tried out 4 different Lutheran churches, not realizing at the time that they were all ELCA. So I kind of assumed that this was what all Lutheran churches were. And then happened to find our church just outside Madison, Bethlehem, and met with the pastor, and it really made us comfortable because it had the more conservative foundation, and that very biblical foundation, but I felt like also was a little bit more contemporary. So, I love that my boys get to sing songs that they hear on the radio. And so when they hear songs in church on Sunday, it reinforces what they learn in class Monday through Friday, or what they learn during Sunday school. And so I love to hear they're passionate about music. And so I love the fact that they get to hear the same songs on Sunday morning and Monday morning on the way to school.
Yeah, that reinforcement, that is really great.
Yeah.
Now, the Bethlehem Lutheran Church, was that the one Joel Brandt?
Yep.
Was that a classmate of mine? And was there more of a church plant situation you were a part of?
Yep. So Joel became an associate pastor at Bethlehem, and then helped start Cross Lutheran Church about 10, 15 minutes west of where we lived. And so we were involved in that a little bit, kind of helped get that church going, served a little bit on the building committee for that, helped get that started, and then came back.
So what's it like being a part of a church plant as opposed to an established church?
It's really challenging in some regards. It's really exciting because every Sunday it feels like you've got new people. You can see growth much more easily. One extra family of 3 or 4 people showing up to a church service of 40, that's a 10% increase in attendance. Whereas four extra people at a service of 400 is you might not notice as much. But it was also a little challenging as our boys started to get a little older and a desire to be involved in youth group and some of those activities. A men's ministry or a women's ministry is a little bit harder when you only have 40 members in a church.
Yeah, it's hard to get that critical mass. And a lot of times you find people who are, I don't want to say more of a consumer mentality, but they're looking for certain kinds of programs.
Yeah.
And it can be a struggle for a new church to say, yeah, we don't have that yet, but if you come help us, we can build up toward that.
Right. So there are awesome opportunities. Anything you want to do, you can. Because there's no longstanding tradition of, we can't do that because we tried it 5 years ago and it failed, or you don't have somebody who's run the program the same way for 20 years. So there's a lot of excitement in terms of, oh, sure, we'll give it a shot. What do we have to lose? But also a little bit challenging, like we talked about earlier. Getting plugged in here was really easy because there were processes and systems in place, and you could just kind of come along, and that made it really easy. That's not as easy when you don't have the structure.
Okay. Now that you're part of the board of directors and you're a person who loves to learn, what are some things you're learning about Shepherd of the Hills from that inside perspective of being a board member?
Oh, wow. I think I'm developing an appreciation for how many people are involved here. I think, when you show up on Sunday morning, you see the folks who are on the welcoming team. You see a small group of people, and then you sit in a board meeting and you're like, oh wow, these are not the exact same people,
right? And
you get an appreciation for how much thought and work goes into running the day-to-day operations of the church, and how much thought goes into every single decision that's made, and the conversations that happen, and how passionate people are about not selfishly doing what they want to do, but really getting to what's the best thing for our church, not only today or tomorrow, but what's going to best position us for success 10, 15, 20 years from now. And that's really exciting.
Yeah, that's a good point you make about the people who serve on a board may not be the same people that are out there welcoming, because they're different skill sets.
Yeah.
You have people who just love to engage and walk up to somebody and get into conversation, and they might be well suited for the welcoming jobs. And then you have people on boards who maybe their specialties are more kind of the systems, the governance, the finances. And that's a great thing about being in a congregation like this, is that you have lots of different gifts out there, and God makes us different for different reasons. It's the Bible in 1 Corinthians 12 talks about some are hands and some are feet, and one part of the body shouldn't say to the other one, I'm not important because I'm not like you. So there's a place for everybody.
Yeah.
So you talk about thinking from the church's perspective, what's best for now and for years to come too, and we have to think that way. Do you think that way for your family too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you have to. I think that's my responsibility as the head of my family. Would it be easier when my kids were younger to just give them everything that they wanted? Mm-hmm. Probably, because it probably would have made them stop asking and leave me alone. But ultimately, we know that that's not the right thing for them long term. I think of things like private school. Would it be nice to not pay money for private school? Probably. It might be nice to have a little bit more money, but I recognize how important that foundation is for them. Mm-hmm. And to have that reinforcement of, recognizing that church isn't just something that you do on Sundays. It's something that you live out in your life. And being surrounded by godly people who love them is critical. And so I feel like you have to make decisions with what ultimately is going to help produce the best outcome long term. Mm-hmm.
Have you given some thought to where you and your family want to be in 5 or 10 years? Do you have a vision in terms of work or whatever else in your life?
I kind of laugh when I think about trying to make a vision for our family in 5 to 10 years, just thinking of how much our lives have changed over the past 5 to 10 years. Yeah. I think Brian Smith on one of our Wednesday night Zoom calls said once or twice, when man plans, God laughs.
Yes.
And I feel like that with us, because 5 years ago, I never would have pictured living in San Antonio, Texas, working for USAA, any of those things. I think directionally, I have an understanding of where I want our family to go. I want our boys to continue to grow, obviously physically, but spiritually. I want them to continue to see the example that my wife and I set for them in terms of being solid partners to each other, healthy conflict, understanding right and wrong, understanding how to say no in the short term to something that you might want, because ultimately it leads to a better place. But to pinpoint that exactly, I would struggle with that.
It's probably not wise.
Right.
Yeah. I think your goals are wonderful goals to keep in mind. I'm even thinking about goals for my own children. What do I want for them? And you're talking more character development than, where you're going to be and what you're going to be doing. Those things will fall into place.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hard to prepare for some of those things right now, but to build character is something you can be doing every day.
Yeah. I think of, building a house, making sure the foundation is really, really solid.
Yeah.
Making sure, I talk to the boys about, if you are trustworthy every single day of your life and then you do something horribly wrong, you're an untrustworthy person. That's the reality. Trust takes a long time to build up, and it takes a long time to get back, and it's really easy to give away. So make sure that you have a solid foundation, because you don't get those opportunities a lot.
Yeah, great life lesson. Yeah, you and Megan are very good parents.
I'm not sure I would go that far.
Oh.
We are striving for being above average.
Okay, I think you're right. Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about your faith personally? How has your faith helped you in your life?
That's tough. I feel like it's almost like asking how oxygen has helped.
That's really good.
It's gotten us through. I was diagnosed with cancer and made it through that. Our faith brought us closer together. We've moved multiple times. And so being able to kind of turn and look at each other and say, hey, no matter what happens, God's going to take care of us. We're going to be okay. As long as we've got that solid foundation that we need. And so always knowing that that's there, I don't know a better way to put that.
Yeah. So moves. How long ago was the cancer?
That would have been January of 2009.
2009?
Yeah. We went through about a 9-month period where we didn't think Megan would be able to have children. So we were in the final stages of the adoption process. Really? And then we found out that she was pregnant with Noah the day that we got the letter that said that we were on the waiting list to adopt from Ethiopia.
From Ethiopia?
From Ethiopia. Wow. And then 2.5 months later, I found out I had cancer. Oh. Then I had surgery to fix that, was in the process of going through radiation as we found out that my office in Indianapolis was closing. Oh, and so spent about a month not knowing whether I would have a job or not. Then got the opportunity to move to Columbus, Ohio, and moved 2 weeks after Noah was born. So
wow, what a season of life.
And so kind of the way that we look at everything we deal with right now is if we can get through that 9-month stretch, definitely stronger than we were before. Yeah. If we can get through that, we can get through anything. Because no matter how bad 2020 is, it's not that bad.
It's not that bad. Wow. We talk about how God works through, the Bible says, Romans 8:28, in all things God is working for the good of those who love him. Even in the hard times, those hard times can be repositioned as exactly what you're talking about. You would not want to go through that again, but you can point to it and say, God brought us through that. He's going to bring us through whatever else comes down the road. So that bad thing became something useful to you as that kind of a marker or example.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm glad that God has brought you guys through all of that. And in terms of your health, you must be a pretty healthy guy with some of the things you do. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do for fun, including some of the things you do athletically?
Yeah. So Megan and I like to train for triathlons. So swimming, biking, running. We just think it's important to show our boys that, I am never going to win a race, ever, right? I'm never going to get to be the one who breaks the tape. But to show them that even if you're not going to win, it's fun to go out and compete and try to get better and be a better version of yourself. And to show them the benefits of just living a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah. So when was the last triathlon you did?
October of 2019. So the Waco half Ironman last October.
And are you training for anything now?
We are. We're doing the half Ironman in Columbus, Ohio in July of 2021. Okay. So our race for this year got canceled along with, everything else.
Yeah. Wow. That takes a lot of perseverance, a lot of determination to participate in those kind of competitions. So very good. Other things you do for fun?
We spectate. we play, Megan plays taxi driver for the boys. We honestly have a ton of fun supporting their activities. Whether it's drama or music, or whether it's soccer or basketball or cross country. We just love being out there and supporting them and cheering them on and doing whatever we can to encourage them.
Yeah. the kids do tend to create activities. You don't have to go looking for things to do, right?
Very much so.
Yeah. Great. Well, it has been a lot of fun having this conversation with you and doing it in front of the camera so that other people can listen in and watch. And so, Stuart, I want to thank you not only for the conversation, but just for all the ways that your family is involved and the ways that you make a great place even better.
Well, thank you. It's great to be here.
And thank you so much for watching and listening. Please tune in next time to learn about more people here at Shepherd of the Hills. I'm so glad you got to be a part of this conversation with Stuart today. And until next time, please be safe and healthy. The Lord's blessings to you today.